In October 2017, a friend of mine gave me the neck and 2 banjo bodies and said, "Here, go make a banjo." In this photo, this is the neck and the banjo body that matches the neck. However, in the next photo is the neck of the banjo connected to the body that I'm actually going to use. So there is a size difference. Check this out. The smaller pot is about 11 inches, while the larger pot is closer to 11 and a half. This is part 1 of building a banjo. Here is the parts. I'm using my large chest freezer as a worktop just to show what's going on here. This is the matching body and neck of the banjo, and that's the maker's stamp on the rod that goes through the body, and of course there it is again on the head of the banjo. The body and the neck of this banjo, I've been told, are from the 1890s, so that's pretty impressive. What's going to happen is I'm going to remove the neck from that body, and I'm going to place it inside the body of this banjo. Now, the previous body that it matches is about 11 and a half or 11 3/4, and this body here is an 11-inch. Also, the hole, the little square hole, is smaller, so it's not allowing the thickness of the rod to go through the body of the banjo. I'm even going to have to shorten this rod that runs through by a little bit because, as we said, it came out of a body that was about 11 3/4, and this is only an 11-inch body. In order to widen out the hole for the rod to go through, the rod of the neck, I'm going to use the rasp, and right there you'll see I'm just going to file it wider so that I can fit this through. Here's the 2 rasps that I have. I have a nice square rasp there, so that I can make sure I can keep my hole quite square and true, and the lines are straight. This section here shows the length of the rod running through the body of the banjo that I'm going to use, the banjo body, which of course there it is, about 3/4 of an inch too long. And so my alternative answer for this is to use one of my new hacksaw blades, and I'm going to take off an appropriate amount of wood there on the end of the tailpiece. I'm going to replace this old hacksaw with the new one. So here I've already done it. There's the bit of wood that I have taken off, and I actually took off just not enough on the first go. I wanted to be real conservative, and I have too much of a gap there. So I go back and I take off just a little bit more in order to have that gap between the neck and the body close up. Here I am cutting in high speed. Well, the cut was successful. Here's the rod sliding through. Of course, I've already done the filing and opening up that hole there. And so the neck and the body are really, really close. The only thing that I'm going to have to do is where the neck and the body meet, there's a really big space there. It's not flush with the fingerboard and the body. I did wind up solving this problem. but that's for a little later in the video. Here I'm pointing out the hole that a wedge gets tapped into to hold the neck really tight against the body of the banjo. These two pieces were what came out, and so I went and grabbed just some scrap wood I had, and I'm going to use this to make a new wedge. And here's the wedge. I used my chisel here. Basically, I just cut the piece of wood to roughly the right size and then used the chisel to make a wedge shape. All of this is pretty much just whatever I have on hand to make this banjo work. My next step after I tap this in place is to order some more parts. This is where I had to spend a little money. I needed to order a tailpiece, some connecting stuff, and new strings. And I also ordered new tuners. The old friction tuners on this banjo were not properly frictioning. And also this 5-string banjo is missing the fifth string tuner. So this ends my night 1 of working on the banjo. And next we'll move into night 2 after I get the parts. Welcome to part 2 of assembling or reassembling or building a banjo. I've ordered the tailpiece, and here it's already it's been received, and here's the bridge. And so the next step is to go ahead and make a hole in the center of this rod running through the body of the banjo, where I can put a bolt in and set up the tailpiece. Now, what you're about to see me do is going to make actual luthiers cringe. I have a manual drill there. I also have an electric drill. And I've got some bolts. And so keep in mind, this is being built so that I have a banjo to use. This is not going to be a resale banjo. This is for me. And so I have some bolts of various sizes lying around, and I've selected a bolt, and I'm going to work on trying to get the length. I did experience a little bit of difficulty because that bolt there, of course, it doesn't have very good wood threads, so it was quite difficult to get it to grip on the inside there. But I actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I cannot remember what size drill bit that is, so I can't tell you what I did there. Apologies for that. But let's kind of see me in fast forward go drilling a hole. I sure could get a lot done if I could move that fast efficiently. Okay, well, here are a few still shots of me assembling the tailpiece. And right there, I'm taking the strings off. I said earlier that I had purchased strings. Apparently, I had not. So I was just getting an idea by using the old strings. When I completed this night, I had a banjo that partially stayed in tune. So the next part is a video I made for the fella who gave me the parts. I was kind of proud of myself and wanted to show him that the banjo could play a little music. Hello, Curtis. I purchased a new tailpiece and kind of got this thing together. I've also got some new strings on order. I have a bridge here. I have another bridge on order as well. Currently, my height of strings is too much, so I'll have to figure that out. But right now I have it kind of tuned using the old strings. I have new tuners on order, including a 5th string tuning nut tuner. I'm probably going to have to order a new little nut up here, but I'll worry about that later. So at this moment, it is partially working. Bye!
Bye, Curtis.
Welcome to part 3 of assembling a banjo. I have ordered tuners, and here they are. So I'll be installing these new tuners up here on the head, and I also now have a 5th string tuner, so I'll be installing that today. And so let's get to it. Well, so far I've got one tuner done, and the interesting thing about these old antique tuners is in order to take them off, you undo that screw on the back and pull the handle off, and then pull the nut, the tuning peg, out this way. Now the other thing I'm having to do is drill out the small hole that's in here to a 3/8. Here we have the camera set up so that you can watch me in fast motion. I use my hand powered drill so that I do not make hopefully any mistakes and in overpowering it, and I slowly tap up to the size of 3/8 inch hole, and using my small little file I clean up the edges there, and here I am installing the new tuner. So what you just saw was the complete removal and replacement of this low string here. And yes, I'm still using the old strings that were on this banjo just to kind of get a feel of what's going on. I do have a set of new strings, and so I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for these two. What I wound up doing was, I'll show you here, I wound up sizing the holes, which start out just a little smaller than the 19/64ths. And so I used each one of these larger drill bits and sized them larger, 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 larger until I landed into this 3/8 size, because these have a 3/8 inch shaft that fits in the hole. You'll see that wonderful little, kind of like a nail right there, and that sits into the metal, the wood, and makes sure that it creates a very secure lock against the wood, so that when you turn the tuner peg, you don't wind up tuning the whole thing and having it slip on you. So I'm going to go ahead and do these other two and get back to you when that's completed. I've got all 4 tuning pegs in, including the 5th tuning peg. I had to use my 3/8 inch drill bit and drill out this hole a bit. Nice thing about it is this tuning peg has a ribbed or ridged, or however you want to look at it, post on the inside. I was able to use my little rawhide rubber mallet, hammer it in place. Now I'm going to put the 5th string on and start replacing all of these. Now I'm going to move to a warmer venue into my living room.